Good afternoon, and welcome to A Beer with the Old Growler. I'm the Old Growler, Peter LaFrance, and I'm glad to have you with me this afternoon. Yes, sir. And why are we here? I'll tell you why we're here, because it's 5 o'clock. It is Wednesday, the 15th of April, 2020, and we're in our fourth week of no pubs, bars, taverns, or any sort of get-together place in a lot of the United States, but certainly here in Brooklyn. So the fact is that puts me at a disadvantage. You see, the Old Growler here, myself, has been a journalist. I've covered the beverage alcohol industry for the last 35 or 40 years, depending on how you count. And most of the time I've spent in pubs, bars, taverns, and suds buckets, talking to people, interviewing people, tasting different beers and beverages. And now there is, it's changed. So about 4 weeks ago, I decided that instead of drinking alone, I would ask everybody else who has been cut out of the loop if they would like to join me in a beer at 5 o'clock. And so I've been rattling everyone's cage to see if they'll come out and have a beer with me at 5 o'clock. And so there we have it. Yes, let me just my credentials, if it comes. If you're worried about my credentials about cooking, about beer and talking about it and being a barfly, well, let me. Oh, I just got here. Focus in there, kids. Focus in. It's early. There you go. Got it? That's good. Okay, in 1994, I published, John Wiley published Beer Basics for me, or I wrote it for them. And you can still find this on Amazon, I believe. Although this is it's been a long time. A year after that, it was Cooking and Eating with Beer. And 50 chefs, brew masters, and restaurateurs talk about beer and food. And I had about 100 recipes in here, which maybe we'll go through a little bit later. We have to hang out too much longer. And recipes and beer, cooking with beer, I've already talked too much. I hope you enjoyed the introduction, but now it's time to have a beer. Well, what kind of beer are we going to have? Well, I did go across to my usual, with the watering hole that is still open. It sells growlers. Growler, here we go, growler. That's what it is. This one is from my buddy Todd Mott's brewery up in, Tributary Brewery up in, oh, come on now, Kittery, Maine. Yes. But it serves a purpose, and the purpose is to go over to the ale house over there on Henry Street and get it filled up. And today I got it filled up with single cut 18 watt. It's an IPA, 5.0% alcohol by volume. However, that's in the refrigerator. This one is what's left over from yesterday, which was Two Roads, Road to Ruin. And I called it a session beer, and I was informed by Jerry Scott, who poured it for me, that if it's a session beer, it's 8%. And if it's 8%, it's not a session beer. So I figured I'd try it again. Well, now, it's still alive. It's alive. Oh, my. Oh, dear. Okay. Okay, to the 5 of you who have joined me, I hope you are raising a glass to 5 o'clock or a little bit later, and it's time to have a beer with the Old Growler. Wow, that's not bad. Let's see if I can do that again. There we go. So that's a tough thing about being here with the Old Growler. It's almost like being in a bar, except that there's no bartender and there's nobody else, and the beer selection's a little limited. But we'll do the best. Adapt, adjust, overcome. All right. Well, let's see, what do we got here? I've explained the old growler. I've touched on my journalism background. Thoughts and musing on today's growler. Well, it's not today's growler, it's yesterday's growler. At 8%, and I'm sure with I had the cap on there pretty tight. This is, it's just as effervescent, if not, yeah, it's just as effervescent as it was yesterday. Take a look at that. There's a nice little head holding on to that. Beers like that, especially when you get the higher alcohol, lasts a little longer, or it doesn't deteriorate as quickly as the younger ones or the less alcohol. It'll be a little strong, I guess, to survive. That's something today, isn't it? I tell you. But it's a beautiful day outside here in Brooklyn. We're at the edge of downtown Brooklyn. They won't let us call this Brooklyn Heights. Brooklyn Heights is on the other side of Cadman Plaza. Take a look at Google Map and you'll see what I'm talking about. But that's why I go to when I go to the ale house. The Henry Street Ale House is over in Brooklyn Heights. We're down here in Brooklyn. Although the real estate folks are starting to call this Upper Dumbo. Oh dear, that was back when there was a lot of money to be spent on a lot of apartments, and well, things have changed a little bit, but some things have not changed. And I tell you what, that has not changed is yeah, I've got cheat notes. Today's tasting. Today is today's tasting teas. Okay, reading off the cue cards. The little person I have holding the cue cards here is not. No. If you don't start holding those up, little baby, later than that, you little leprechaun, I'll be sending you back to Ireland, and it's going to be the worst of it for you. So hold that thing steady there, would you? For those of you of Irish descent, I apologize. Wait on. Okay, what are we going to be trying out today or sampling? I told you folks we're going to have Hop Runner. That's right here. It's from Yonkers. Yonkers is just a little bit north of New York City. And so there we go. This is let's see, what do we got here? They call it an India Pale Ale. So it's Hop Runner India Pale Ale. And we've got from Lord Hobo Brewing Company. Let's see, where is Lord Hobo? Oh, Woodburn, Mass. All right. We've got Steal This Can. Steal This Can. I remember Steal This Book by Abby Hoffman. And I'm dating myself, and we know what they call dating yourself is. In India Pale Ale, 6.5 by volume, so that's a little interesting. And let's see, what do we got here? The third one I promised you kids, you saw it, you saw the picture. Here it is. Another one from Magic Hat is Art Hop Ale. Art Hop Ale. And let's see if I can find something interesting on this. This is a 16. Oh, this one is 8% alcohol by volume. So we're going to finish. This goes last because I want to be able to talk more or less. But anyways, so here we are. I see we got. Oh, hey, Mary and Monica. Monica Upper Dumbo. Yeah, that's seriously. I saw that on a listing for the apartment being hoisted or foisted over there on Sand Street, I think it is. Oh dear, that's a good one. Okay, Dave. Hey, good to see you, my friend. Dave and Mary. Mary is my daughter, and Dave is my son-in-law. I like to see them. Glad, boy, we invited you kids in to see you folks and to see me at my bar. Okay, well, let's see. What are we gonna? Well, first of all, we're gonna have another sip of beer. Today was I did a little bit of work today, a lot of list work, a lot of technical stuff, and I was promising to clean up the wall of beers and to show you guys some of the really ancient beer bottles and cans that I've got up there. But well, you see, the thing is, and I can't. If I could move it, I could show you. But there's about let's see, 2 feet by 6 feet by 4 feet. 2 by 6 is 12 by 4, 20, maybe 24 square feet, cubic feet of stuff that has to be moved before I can even come close to reaching the wall of beer. So if this lasts any much longer, you will see a clean wall of beer. I did manage to bring one down, though. All right, you wee leprechaun, you can let it go now. There you go. That's a fine wee fella. Okay. This is from the Bahamas. It's Chinook beer, and it's a. It was a, as I remember correctly, and I was down there for a honeymoon, I believe it was. Yes, it was. You don't have to believe it. I just can't remember. There was 2 times I was in the Bahamas. One was, I think, with child, and one was, well, I wasn't with child, but I mean, yes, I was with a child. Never mind. This is the first one. And it's brewed by Commonwealth Brewery Limited in Nassau, Bahamas. I didn't find it remarkable as far as that. I remember we were sitting on a patio and we had a salad to go with it. It was it was a huge casino down there. I'll remember its name in a little bit, but it shows how much the casino meant to me. The thing that fell into the sea that disappeared. Atlantis. That's what it is. Okay, Atlantis. But I was interested by the name Chinook. K-A-L-I-K. Chinook. Yes, Samir, you've got it. Atlantis. So anyways, Chinook. So I asked the waiter, first of all, I was interested in the beer itself, and I was, was I writing about? I was just drinking beer back then, and he informed me that the name came from, apparently there's, near the brewery, there's a dairy farm, and they hear the bells on the cows going click, click, click. In fact, you can see on the label here, there's the cowbells that they're using right there. So that is the story of Chinook beer in the Bahamas. Oh, that's a great flavor. Well, I've got a little bit of an announcement. Wednesday the 22nd, that's next Wednesday. My alma mater has kindly offered to sponsor my show, and they just said that it is part of their Legacy of Learning series, a legacy of learning, so that the alumni that have had a particular interest or a particular proficiency in certain things, they asked them to do 35, 45 minutes, and mine format seemed to fit the need perfectly. So it will still be here, don't worry, but it will be Norwich University presents Beer in the Kitchen with Peter LaFrance, Norwich University Corps of Cadets 74. And it will be live. It will be in the kitchen. Yes, we're going to make beer soup. And I'll be using Guinness, and I'll be using Vidalia onions, and talking about some of the techniques that are involved in using beer in different recipes and stuff. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. And when they asked me to do that, it struck me that that's one of the things that beer and beer and I and you and everyone watching has in common, is food. Food, all different types of food. And we experience food in different ways. Some people, let's call it dramatic pause, eat to live, and other people live to eat. Well, I'm one of the people that lives to eat, believe me. Silage has its place. I'm not arguing, especially if you're not feeling too well. But even if you're not feeling too well, it's a very good idea for a nice chicken soup, and especially if you have the stock, say, in the freezer, and or some demi-glace so that you can make it, but then you have to have prepared for this beforehand. And need I say how well we are at preparing. No, no, Monica, I don't have my cowbell. No, thank God. No, no, no. And I don't have Christopher Walken sitting beside me either. What a character, what an actor, I tell you, that was. But that, I digress. We'll go into actors and actresses and movies at another time. But the food part. Some people can remember the first time they were at a professional sports game. And some people can remember, I guess, the first time they were kissed or whatever. And but my memories have more to do with food. I think early on, the flavor when I was a small child, I'm talking small, before first grade in Knoxville, Tennessee, the sound of the ice cream man in the summertime. There was a certain lemon good humor that my father and mother would let me have, and my sister. And every time I hear bells, the ice cream bells, it triggers that flavor. But that's all. That's the good stuff. What is it? Oranges. For some people, it's Christmas or Hanukkah. And, flavors and aromas in the food are incredibly tightly tied to our synapses and to our memories. Flavors, music in particular, but certainly food and flavors. I think one of the most, to me, one of the seminal points in my life when I understood that I was really into flavors and food. Another dramatic pause. Up at Norwich. After classes and after third mess, sometimes it was if somebody had a friend who had a off campus back in Northfield, Vermont, maybe an apartment or a little shack or hovel or whatever we had. Many apartments. There were small apartments here. They rented out to particularly some of the civilian students. I keep explaining this was a military university that I went to between 1969 and 1974. But anyways, to make a long story short, we used to get together for poker games. Surprise, surprise. And lots of beer. Surprise, surprise. Most of it was Budweiser, though. But on one particular game, I was doing very well. And when I say very well, I'm talking about, I was up $25, $30, which was pretty good. So I, after so many beers and so much luck and so much excitement, it was time to hit the head. Well, oh God, Bernie, his first name was Bernie. I can't remember his last name. But I remember he went through the windshield of a car once. Came back. He didn't look so good. But anyways, he and some other of the kids there had gone out and got themselves a deer. And you can do that in Vermont. Well, I wouldn't say you can't. It's possible to get a deer in Vermont, believe me. And so they did. And they had one of the local bar owners finished the butchering up for him and gave him hung the rest of it in his cold box, but gave him the haunches and some other stuff. So we had some venison steaks to go along with the poker game, and the beer, venison and beer. Boy, that was good stuff. Anyways, I'm walking back from the head, and I see on the kitchen sink on the side there on the drain board, there's this lump of red. It looked, I wouldn't say gelatin because it was opaque, you couldn't see through it, but it was a red blob. So I look at that, and Bernie says, "What's the matter with you?" I said, "What the hell is that?" And he says, "It's venison liver." I said, "Venison liver." Okay. You're evil, Monica, the Petrucci. Yeah. Oh, but anyways, so this big blob, this red blob, it's, about that size, whatever. And he says venison liver, and he says, you ever have venison liver? And first of all, I had not had liver, and the only liver that well, yes, the only liver that I'd ever had was at home, and my mother cooked it, and she is. I'm not to cast aspersions, but her southern background did not help with her culinary abilities, and so liver was not on the top of my list at all. In fact, it was something that I would maybe, if I was on a desert island, not want to have. But I'm looking at that, and I see it, and I says, okay. I says, no, I've never had venison liver. And he says, well, how much have you won tonight? And I told him, and he says, well, I tell you what. And he's frying up some more venison steak there, or sides from off of the leg, and she says, I tell you what, and it's just butter and, geez, he had some kind of herb in there. I don't remember what it was. I know sure shit it wasn't oregano. It might have been marjoram, but he had a little butter left in the pan, and this is marjoram in the fond. And he says, Peter, he says, how much have you won? I told him, and he says, I tell you what, I'm going to cut a slice of this venison liver, and I'm going to fry it up in here, and I'm going to put it on the end of a fork, and you're going to put it in your mouth. Now, if you can spit it out, I'll pay you what you've won. And I said, oh, no shit, George. I was drunk enough I could spit anything out. He fries this little baby up. It couldn't have been that size. I mean, it was a semi-cube. And he put it in my mouth, and I lost my winnings. I couldn't do it. And then I knew I was a foodie, man. But we didn't know it was a foodie back then. I just knew it was gorgeous stuff. It was like foie gras. I mean, it was, wow. Well, anyways, that was how I discovered my love of my first. I think that was when I first really discovered that was food and beer. Oh, I get it. Proustian, yes. Evil. Okay. I know him as Mephistopheles. Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh boy. Anyways, the food has always been an important part of the way I look at the world, and in fact, it is the way I've explored the world. Speaking of Khalik, for the honeymoon, or later on, I can't remember which trip it was. And my daughter, I think, reminded me that it was probably when she was along with us. But the first, was it? I'm not too sure what was the first time I traveled internationally. Before being it had to have been before being a travel writer, because I was with my wife, and it was a honeymoon, and it was 1983, and we were in Paris, and it was the first night. It was the first night there, and we had read about restaurants in Gourmet magazine, back when Gourmet magazine ruled the world as far as food. And one of the restaurants they suggested was a place called La Flotte Galerie on Ile Saint-Louis. So we did manage to make reservations. Her uncle was working in Paris. He and his family were stationed in Paris. He was stationed in Paris at the time with the Drug Enforcement Agency. And Uncle Nicky, boy, what a character. Anyways, he made the reservations for us. And so this was a real white tablecloth restaurant. We're talking, I mean, gourmet French at the time. At least I managed to travel in at that time, my travel uniform was a blue blazer, a red silk tie, tied in a full Windsor, a white shirt, braces, wool or worsted trousers, and low quarters. So I was fairly, it was dressed well enough to get into the place. Being Americans, it was, well, but we did get, we were treated very nicely. And it came time to order. And my wife looked at the menu and she saw something called rognon de veau. Now, she's her mother is Italian, so she speaks a little Italian, so she knows veau is veal. And so she saw rognon, which rognon sounds round, round veal, so rognon de veau. She took a gamble and went for it. A green salad to go afterwards, and a cheese plate, I believe we ordered. No, wait a minute. I think it was definitely a dessert, not a cheese plate to start with. We did the dessert, we ordered the dessert, and so then he comes to me, and another dramatic pause. Je parle un peu. Je suis un citoyen et les États-Unis, et pas, je suis très ignorant. So, anyways, I lost. I grabbed onto the little French that I knew, and I said, "Je désire beefsteak bleu, pommes frites, et salade verte." I asked for steak beyond rare. I mean, we're talking blue. We're talking cool in the middle. French fries and a green salad. And I did notice a Côte de Rhône on there, so I was able to at least knowledgeably order. No, I asked a carafe vino de nero. Okay. And the guy looked at me like I had 5 eyes and 4 noses, and well, he knew that this was an American. Yeah. Okay. So dinner comes. No problem. The cocktails, I seem to remember we did champagne or something, a champagne cocktail. And the appetizer was a soup. I believe I had a potato soup, and I believe she had leek. I'm not sure. But anyway, then came the entrees. And I had my steak there with my little French fries and my little green salad. And she had her rognon de veau. Now, this plate of, well, I'll start right out. Rognon de veau is veal kidneys. Well, the kidneys were about the size of my thumbnail. I mean, they were incredibly small, and they were split in half. They were napped in a mustard sauce around a steamed artichoke. Well, she tried it, and she couldn't. I, being a gentleman, gave her my dish and my steak, etc. And I took her rognon de veau, having no idea what it was. Well, I put a fork in there, boy. I put one of them little rognon de veaux into my pie hole, and I fell in love with rognon de veau. Oh, rognon, bring it on! Oh, it was eye-opening. I mean, it was beyond eye-opening. It was where, and I knew what it was. It was just the food was. I now understand why it was in Gourmet magazine, of course. But back then, it was one of those ethereal moments in your life where a light shines and everything is perfect. And I don't know whether it was the waiter or the maitre d' came over and said, "Monsieur, désirez-vous une tasse de..." Or well, I see my French isn't so good, but he asked me if I would like a glass of appropriate wine. And I said, "Yes, thank you." And he did. He brought one over, and it was one of those wonderful things. But let's see, where are we? Oh, we're on 5:30. I had one more story. Oh, geez. Okay. We'll do the beer tasting in the next half hour. I've got 2 minutes to tell the next story. And I love this one, boy. This is really good. Okay, we're talking. I'm now moved on many years and am working at Travel Agent Magazine, and they've sent me on a press trip. And I ended up in Switzerland in Lugano. Now, Lugano, Switzerland is known for wine in particular, and for their caves, their caves, their places, the wine cellars. But they also have their cava, as they call it, involved large farmhouse kitchens. And so we were on this press trip, and I remember in particular, one of the other journalists was an Asian editor and was a vegetarian. So it was kind of fun traveling with him, because if the restaurant was supposed to be 5-star and it couldn't come up with a good vegetarian menu, or at least a dish for this guy, and if it was just steamed vegetables, you knew it was, well, that is another story. But this one is pretty good. We were in Lugano, and we were going to go up to this grotto, they called it. That was it. It's not cava, it was grottos. Okay, so they go up to this grotto. They had it was only a few of us. I mean, maybe 6, I believe, altogether. And we go up to this. We were told that it was a farmhouse and a large farmhouse kitchen, and they had their own wine cellar right underneath it there. So that was what we were going to eat and drink and celebrate. So we went in, and it was a huge communal table. They had a fireplace that had to be, I'm 6 foot tall, had to be 8 foot by 8, maybe 9 foot by 6 foot, easy, and 5 to 6 feet deep. And there was a grill there, and it had everything on it. I mean, grilling away was marvelous. I mean, the aroma was just fantastic. And we walked in. As we walked in, the fellow who was the vegetarian, his nose went up like this. He goes, "I smell burning flesh." Well, yes, he did. Yes, he did. But we settled him down, kind of a big old bowl of risotto and some bread and wine, and they started passing the wine bottle around. Everything was fine. And so it came time for people to find out what they had on the grill. And so the patron said, "Oh, we have poulet, chicken, and we have let's see, it was some I believe some pork loin. We had some pork loin there, and we had some colt." And everybody says, "Oh, colt, good. We all have colt." So he started dishing out the dishes, and one of the women asked. She said to him, she says, "Can you translate? Can you translate colt from Italian into English?" And he said, "Colt." And she said, "What, colt?" And she COLT. And I spoke up. I said, "Wilbur, the talking horse." Well, that kind of closed the door down there, boy. Well, anyways, myself and a fellow by the name of oh God, Hardy was his last name. He specialized. In fact, he is now part of International Railway Traveler, which is a fantastic travel arc. Well, now, oh Jesus, Owen, I feel so bad for Owen Hardy was the guy's name. Great fella. But he and I ended up at most of the horse stakes. Colt. And we hung out later and let the rest of the crew take the minibus down back to the hotel, and some of the farmers decided they'd drive us back. They had a concertina out and a violin. They started playing and singing, and we stayed with a little bit. And the patron came out with this bottle. Not quite this. It was a wine bottle, but it was clear, and the liquid in it was clear. And he asked if we wanted drinks, and of course we said yes. And I found out what grappa was. And we found out that the patron, his youngest daughter was my daughter's age at that time, 3 years old, and Owen's daughter as well. And so somewhere in a grotto in Lugano, Switzerland, Owen's daughter's picture and my daughter's picture are on the wall there, and we remember grappa that way. Okay, we're at 5:33, and it's time to do some tastings. I promised you kids to do tastings. Yes, I did, and I picked up a little information this time. The other times we haven't. I will have the links to the breweries, at least, for 2 of these beers. Well, 3 of the beers I'll have the links to the brewery, but one of them, they didn't give me any information. So, well, all right. Let's start out with I'm going to say with the Hop Runner Yonkers. We're going to go to the Hop Runner Yonkers. That's right here. And what we usually do, what I used to do, when I was at the Henry Street Ale House with Jerry and Jim, is we would look at at what was called meeting expectations, and we would look at the label on the beer can or the beer bottle, or I still have her down here, Madame Petrini. She would really like to be tasted, so if anybody would like to, I will, but you have to ask me. Anyhow, Hop Runner from Yonkers. And so what we did is we take a look at the label, we'd read it off, and we'd decide what did we expect this thing to be. And we would taste it, and the 3 of us would decide whether it met expectations or not. So we're going to try this here by ourselves, so to speak. And let's see, we've got this what we're taking a look at right now is Hop Runner. Is the name of the stuff that's in here, and it's brewed by the Yonkers Brewing Company, and it's an India Pale Ale, in your face with citrusy, dank, hoppy flavor. This IPA is a brilliant interpretation of the classic American IPA. Okay, Hop Runner. Like any other great idea, Yonkers Brewing Company was thought of with a beer in hand. Our commitment to honor innovation and love for good beer and our hometown can be found in every sip. So breathe easy, drink responsibly, and enjoy our quality beers. Why would you want to breathe a beer? I don't know. But anyways, oh, they got some nice information here. This is great. 12 fluid ounces. So, hello. Okay, but you're supposed to have that. Alcohol by volume, 6.4. International bittering units, 58. And SRM, which is the color of the beer, is 8, which means it should be a very light colored beer. Well, that tells me a lot. That tells us all a lot. Okay, and it tells us the Yonkers Brewing Company, Yonkers, New York, and Stratford, Connecticut. So it's probably got a contract up there somewhere. This is just a government warning to tell me that if I'm pregnant, I shouldn't drink this, and I shouldn't drive a car, but I don't have a license, so I can't drive a car anyway. And I'm looking to see if it tells me when it was bottled or canned. And packaged 10 April. All right. So this is less than a week ago. All right. All right. That's pretty cool. There's only 3 of you here to watch me do this, but I do appreciate you being here. So we're going to crack this open. What are we expecting? Well, as I say, a light colored beer with the bittering units, 58. It's not quite 80 bittering units. 80 bittering units would be pretty high. 58 is minimum. I would say minimum, but you're going to get some. You're going to get some hop. Jesus, I hope that's not a crack on the glass. No, it's not. Is it? No. No. Scum. All right. Whoops. Okay. Well, I'm not going to bitch too much about cloudy beer. I'm tired of bitching about cloudy freaking beer. So I'm not going to do that. But it is the color is relative. It is a straw colored, so it's a nice one. It doesn't hold too much of a head. I can probably blame that on the glass. It's been through a dishwasher, so but it is detergent and it should be sterile. So I don't, man. But the head is holding up fairly well. Okay, and we got some nice carbonation. Well, did I list the hops in this? No, I didn't. Let's see if it does it on the front. It says citrusy, dank, hoppy flavor. An American IPA. Well, I think American IPA is their way of saying it's going to be cloudy, and I should have caught on to that. But anyways, let's go with the first sip. Well, there's the hops. Geez, that took a long time to get here. Okay. I was expecting because it is an IPA, a hop punch to the nose, at least to the nose, if not and certainly to the flavor. And well, let me put it this way: does Hop Runner, Yonkers Brewing Company IPA meet expectations? Try again, dudes, man. And I tell you, I'm gonna go looking for your stuff and see if it will. I just find it interesting that it has Hop Runner is the name is the you see there, Hop Runner, but right here it's got the name of the company and then says IPA. So I don't know whether the company's an IPA or the Hop Runner's an IPA, but well, we're gonna give those kids another try, okay? Okay, next on the list is Steel This Can. Okay, this is an IPA, and they came up. Let's see. Oh, also a small note. When I looked for information on Hop Runner, their website did not help me out at all, and some of the information that came from the other tasting groups also didn't help out terribly. So, well, it was a good start, and I'm going to go back and talk to those kids, get a hold of those kids. This was it was sent to me by them, so I didn't buy it. So there we go. Okay, next on the list, Steel This Can. Okay, Steel This Can. That's what it says. For those of us who are old enough to remember Jerry Rubin and Steal This Book and the Revolution in 1968, I salute you all. You're still here, and please be safe, man. Wash your hands and everything else. Okay. Lord Hobo Brewing Company, I love the freaking name, proudly presents Steel This Can. India Pale Ale, 6.5% alcohol by volume, 1 pint. Government warning that, again, I shouldn't be pregnant or drive a car. Lord Hobo Brewing Company in Woodburn, Massachusetts. Oh boy, I'm psyched for this one. And let's see if they tell me anything else on here. No, nope, they're making it simple for me. So what am I going to expect? An India Pale Ale at 6.5% by volume. Okay, I took a look online. Steel This Can. This West Coast inspired IPA features 4 notable hop varieties to produce poignant citrus notes with pine and hop bitterness. Pine and hop bitter. Okay. A malt bill. Technical term. A malt bill means the type of malts that are going in here. Include Pilsner malts, American red wheat, gives this IPA a healthy mouthfeel. Probably because the Pilsner malts had a little bit of dextrin to it. So that gives it a nice body. Alcohol by volume, 6.5%. IBU is 80. So this is a little high. In IB, it's going to be a little better. The malts, Pilsner, American red wheat. Ooh, interesting. In the featured hops, Chinook, Zeus, and Centennial. I'm not familiar with those, so it's going to be fun to taste this one. Okay, I can't wait. Okay, what am I expecting? I did do a little cheat, so it's not off of the can, but off of the can, I would expect a nice, again, an India Pale Ale, citrusy. I would hope with a little grapefruit, because American India Pale Ales have grapefruit, where the British British IPAs have a lot of Kent Golding in them, so which is kind of a blackberry type of a flavor in a way. It's not so much bitter. Okay, what do we got here? Okay, oh, this looks good. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, that's a beer. That's an IPA. It looks good, and again, it's the same type of glass. You'll notice that there's a nice, if you can see them, the bubbles going up there are nice and small, which means that it's naturally carbonated. It's not punched into it. The head is holding up despite the fact that it is a wine glass. Oh wow! There's when I say wow, I don't mean it one way or the other. There's an interesting aroma to this, and it's mainly because I'm not familiar with the hops. So I'm just going to dive in and take a sip. First of all, the balance on this. I don't, whatever hops they have, and I've read them off, and this is a beautifully balanced beer with a nice dry finish, and yet a full body to it. I mean, you get a nice coating with the tongue and the palate. It feels full, but there's a dryness that finishes. It's kind of you're almost caught between, do I want to have another sip or do I want to savor this one some more? And that's not high of an alcohol content either, is it? Do we just let's take a look. I think it was 6, wasn't it? Did I say 6? Yeah, 6.5. So it's a little bit. Yeah, it is. Pardon me. No, they grant me executive clemency, because if I ask for pardon, that means I actually did something. Boy, I've only got 2 people left. All right. Well, whoever you are, say hello. If it's Monica and Mary, is that all you guys got? Just give me a thumbs up or something to show me that I ain't talking to a microphone. Or I'll save one of these beers for tomorrow. But anyways, I'm going to enjoy this little bastard. Oh, I got to write a letter to these kids. Monica, thank you. I certainly do appreciate it. And I'm sorry it's not a I'm sorry it's not a lager. I really am. So you could tell to Steve, or Steve could watch, or when he's watching, or if he's watching. But this isn't an aggressive IPA. It's not a lager, I'm sorry. But it's a lager with a little bit of hops to it. I love this. This is a nice little work. That's a nice piece of work. That's it. Boy, I tell you. We're down to 2 people. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. I was trying to find lagers, but trying to find lagers here in Manhattan is not as easy as finding lagers in Oregon. And L-O-G-G-E, not L-A-G, never mind. It was a timber joke. It didn't work too well, and I am going to apologize for it. Okay, so we got Monica here. Okay. Well, I'm going to say the Art Hop Ale for tomorrow. I'm going to threaten anybody tomorrow who's going to stop by. Huh. Well, I'm glad somebody asked me to do it. But then again, let's see, you already did the fell for it. Okay. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, you know, we gotta get together. And as I was saying earlier, food is the great binding force, the great, I wouldn't say binding, but the great lacing together of society. The great we're gonna have to share a meal. That's for sure. And I mean that personally. That's since there's only two of us here. I mean that personally. For you and Steve, when this only you see, I'm gonna have to. And for you folks that are watching, and you've lasted this far, I'm tempted to shave my old beard off because the way things are going, the way Cuomo was saying, is that they're going to let the old folks kind of hunker down for the next year or two, where the young folks get to go out and party. Well, I would say party hardy, but at least go back to work. Well, I'm going to shave off my fucking beard and turn myself into a 67-year-old rather than 69-year-old. But anyways, where are we? I did have a script here. 5:50. Managed to make it almost for an hour. All right. Let's see. A teaser for the next beer with the old sugar. I don't have a teaser for you. But anyways, I want to thank you. Get the right beer. I want to. Oh, leave it there. Yeah, that's true. Well, realize that I pine for you kids, but I wasn't going to needle you about it. Boy, if anybody watches this later on and sees this, they're going to wonder what the fuck. Pardon me. Oh, all right. I've worked it to 5:51, which means we've been on for 52 minutes and 41 seconds. So, as they say in the hockey games, it's a good goal, but we'll try and beat it tomorrow. Everybody played a tough game today. Let's see what are the other ones. But anyways, I'll end this as I have ended most of my beer tasting episodes on the rest of the channel. I'm Peter LaFrance for BeerBasics.com, hoping all of your beers meet expectations. And Monica, if you're still there, I am going to sing Old Man River, but on the 23rd. The 23rd. So I will be singing a cappella Old Man River on the 23rd, and that's Thursday. We just had to switch things. Norwich gets the 22nd, and Old Man River gets the 23rd. So get your recording device out, and I will do it. Anyways, hoping all of your beers meet expectations. Until tomorrow.